Past life regressions are real. Beings from another planets are real. Beings from another dimensions are real as well. And today, I am very excited. I have Jeroen who's gonna tell us everything about it. His countless sessions doing QHHT or past life regressions, although saying past life regressions right now is very short because we know there is sessions that they go other dimensions or another times, another planets, and he's gonna tell us everything about it. So thank you for being here, and I wanna know everything. I wanna know your story. We wanna talk about those moments that you really have a session and you believe, oh my gosh, this is how everything works. But there is other sessions that maybe you doubt yourself. So I wanna know it all. Thank you for being here. He drove from LA, and hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. So I want to know more about you, where everything starts for you.
Like with QHHT?
The curiosity of connecting with something more profound or bigger than whatever we are used to, right?
Okay, I can talk about this forever. So I am from the Netherlands. That's why my name sounds a little weird. It's pronounced Jeroen. As a kid, I remember always looking for something otherworldly. I kind of knew innately that there was more going on than just this physical reality, but I didn't see any proof of it. So for instance, we would go on walks in the forest where I lived, and then I would look for little chairs and tables in the hollows of trees for the fairies and the gnomes that I thought would have to be there. And I never saw anything. So I was looking for something that would resonate with what I held to be true. Mm-hmm. And I didn't find any proof of it until my mom was a librarian, and she would bring home books, and I had read through the whole children's section. And then I would see what was on a nightstand and found this book about out-of-body experiences from the Mom Institute. Yeah. And I talked about this book later with her, and I told her, you brought that book home. And she goes, I would never bring that book home, because she wasn't interested in stuff like that. But I remember reading it and being like, oh my God, this is true to me. This is the first time that I saw something outside of myself that really resonated with what I held to be true. Mm-hmm. And so, that was kind of my drive in life. I knew that there was more going on. I just didn't see much proof of it. Until, when did it start? Yeah, I had some psychic experiences I had a really difficult spiritual awakening in 1996.
What do you mean by difficult?
Well, I enrolled in the Landmark Forum. Mm-hmm. I wanted to, my life wasn't working out. And so the dean in my school that I was in, I was training to be a dancer, and I would just skip classes and stuff. And she said, just go do the Landmark Forum. So I went to the Landmark Forum, and it kind of stripped me of my beliefs about myself and about life. Mm-hmm. Looking back at it now, I knew that my sense of self was fragile, was barely there. And so in that forum, I was stripped of that, and I was left with nothing. And it caused me to have to sort of raise myself or find my authenticity again. So, but the beginning of it was very harrowing. It was very difficult. And I found healers to help me with that. And as I started healing myself, mm-hmm. I had these spiritual experiences that were proof to me that there was more going on than just this physical realm. I would see energy.
Can you explain what was that experience itself? Because maybe someone is having those experiences.
Sure. The way that I think about it now is I was visiting a friend in Canada, and I was cooking in his kitchen in an apartment, and he was gone. He was stepped out. And so I was stirring the pot, and then something caught my attention, and I look into the hallway, and there's this blue being or shape walking through the hallway. And the thought in my mind goes, oh, Joe is coming home soon, my friend Joe. And I go back to stirring the pot, and then I kind of freak out, how is this normal to me, I didn't freak out about it. So stuff like that would happen. And then I would be walking or be in nature, and I'd hear these names of ascended masters coming mm-hmm. in. or I'd be taking showers and I would see guides like show up. Like for some reason that would happen in the shower for me. Water is very soothing. So I started having those experiences that would be proof to me that there was more going on than just like physical world reality. And then through the healing that I was having done on myself, I enrolled in like Reiki and other energy healing modalities. And I would see in other people's processes and my own that they would access different lifetimes. And I was fascinated by it. This is really what, like it resonated with such a big part of myself that was not, that I didn't see around me in the world. So naturally, I would just be pulled or motivated to explore more of it. And then I found a book by Dolores Cannon, and this was back in 2006. I was visiting a friend in his healing practice, and he had like a book on the coffee table with a little alien on the cover. And I was like, oh, that looks interesting. So I was like leafing through it, and I was like, what is this lady doing? She's regressing people, and she's getting all this crazy information. I want to hear more about this. So I bought all her books, and then I figured out that she was training. She was traveling the world and training people, and that she would be in the Netherlands, like 3 months away from the moment I picked up that book. So I contacted the office in Arkansas and found out that I was eligible to enroll in the classes. And I signed up. And then, it was the first time that I was in a sort of learning type environment that I actually was super excited and inspired. Like I'd gone through school being like a C student and having to do like summer classes to catch up. So I was just so bored. Dropped out of school at 16. But this was the first time I was in a learning type environment where I was actually like really
interested.
Yeah, I loved it so much. Yeah.
How was her, like being with her?
It was really amazing because having read all of her books, she was like this star to me, And then in one of her books, she describes that she was given this ring with a little 5-pointed star on it. And there was a whole story with aliens and speaking to her. And so when I saw her and I was like, oh my God, she's wearing the ring. I was like fangirling over her. And she was, she's so endearing and like a grandma, and, being in the Netherlands, I didn't know much about American culture, but I thought that she looked like a white church lady from the Midwest, with a little perm. And then she would open her mouth and all this like galactic, wisdom would pour out, and her sort of grandma-like demeanor, and then also her confidence in her wisdom, speaking, you could tell that this was really lived experience. This was not some made up, BS. This is really what she had experienced through her clients. She was very rooted and very confident in her wisdom. Also because, when you read her book, she was such an avid and great researcher. So she had really sort of cross-referenced her information, and she was very confident in it. And that was so inspiring to me that somebody would speak about these other worlds with such confidence. This is true. I know this to be true. Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done a session with her?
No. At the time, this was in 2006. She was in America, so it was hard for me. Okay. And she was already booked out years. Yeah.
I tried to book you, and she has a waiting list that at the time that I tried was almost 7 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? Why do you think so many people booking not just with you, but is so interested right now in everything that is regressions? Because many people go for the regression itself, right? And then they find out there is much beyond that.
Yes. Yeah.
But do you think it's the moment that we are living right now?
For sure.
Or do you think you're just amazing?
So
I'm gonna pardon.
Right? Well, thank you. So I started doing this work in 2006, and I've seen an uptick in people being interested in this work since about 2014 and 15. Yeah. Starting in 2006, I would just work with the other hippies that already kind of knew about this stuff. But then since 2014, 15, it's been everybody, lawyers, housewives, old people, young people, everybody. So I do think things are changing. And then, as part of the process, as we interview people, and the stories that I'm hearing now often is that the people that come to my office, they've just had some crazy spiritual awakening. They just, whether it was to the pandemic or just really interesting, weird experiences they had, and they suddenly get sort of jolted out of their normal sort of humdrum normal life, and are becoming aware of these other realms, and their whole life changes, and they want to figure out like what's going on.
No, you know that I had my first experience with past life regression in 1996.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was more like past lives. I think at that moment, I don't know if I wasn't aware of like other dimensions and all of that, but it was very focusing going back. And yeah, I did a lot of regressions when I was like 21.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's super cool. So, and that's kind of the reason why I love this topic. And I know it helps so much. And it's because when I was getting married, I started having nightmares. And I was like, why? If I am like really excited about getting married, very in love and all of that. And then, so I went to someone because my friend was doing these sessions, and I feel I cleaned myself.
You cleaned yourself?
Yes, like I really was coming from divorce, I think I had a lot of things in this life that I really was able to go back and release all of that and forgive and let go. And then I had a really beautiful, almost 30 years marriage today, right?
Wow.
But I think it's because we are bringing the person to the relation or to the work, whatever we're trying to heal, right?
Yes.
So then, amazing. So time goes by, and like 2 years ago, again, I had like a very big change in my life. And then I said, what helped me most in life? And it was that time, right? So then I went back, but now it's totally different, because now it's not just past life. My first regression that I did last year, I was an elf.
Oh, nice.
So cool.
I love those, yeah.
Yes, it was super fun. And it reminded me like that my soul is just like fun, and
yes.
That was super cool. And it's funny because I remember watching my son, he's a part of my soul group, many times in the pool. And I had that thought, like, he looks like an elf, like I will jog like that.
Oh, nice.
But yes. I think it is because it touches some place on you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that I truly believe that now is expanding and people is ready for that. Will you agree with that?
Totally. Yeah. I love the elf story because it's one of my favorite experiences to have when people go to lives like that. I've had experiences myself like that. Like I'm very connected to like elemental nature energies. Mm-hmm. And, as a kid looking for elves in the hollows of trees, now when people go into sessions where they talk to me about those lives, it's so satisfying. Like, oh my God, it was all true. Yeah.
It is. But talking about is all true, right? There is moments that you have doubt.
If I do have those doubts?
Doubt, yes.
I did in the beginning. When I first started, I'm from the Netherlands, and the culture I'm from is very cerebral and very rational. So it has its advantages because we don't believe a lot of stuff. Like I found in America, people are kind of like, they just run out, they find out something new and they just run into it, like.
More in LA.
Yeah, maybe in LA, yes. Yeah, so, and the Dutch are a little bit more like skeptical in my experience. So in the beginning, when I would be sitting next to my client and they would start telling me about their alien lives or some really weird other life, whatever was going on, I would be like, are they making this shit up? And I was so lucky that I had several experiences with people that would talk to me from lives that were documented.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they didn't know about these things. And me being so skeptical and not believing them, I would ask about trivial details. Mm-hmm. And to kind of see if they were making it up. But they would tell me about these details. Like I had a woman, like the biggest case that I've been part of that has been sort of verified is a woman who came in and she didn't believe in past lives. She was from a Christian background, but her kid started talking to her about this life that he had as a tall German baseball player. And he said that his mom now was his mom then as well. Mm. And so she came to me like, what the hell's going on? Like, I don't know, past lives? What is this? Mm-hmm. And she ended up going into a lifetime where she was Christina Gehrig, Lou Gehrig's mom. It's a legendary American baseball player who died of Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. Oh. And so, I didn't know this lady. She came into my office. I really loved her. She was a Gemini just like me, so we just hit it off immediately. And so I asked her about lots of details during this session. And she came back 2 more times and would go and explore the same lifetime. And I've never had this happen since. So,
wow.
Yeah. And so I asked her higher self, like, why? Why do we have to go to the same lifetime and explore different periods of it? Mm-hmm. And it told me that she was to sort of explore that lifetime and get very minute details that she could go and fact check with still living descendants and relatives of the Gehrig family. Oh. That she would write a book about it, and that this book would be accessible to a larger group of people because it would have this level of fact checking in it, but also the subject of baseball, and that it would expand people's minds into, believing that life was not just this lifetime, but there's, that our soul is eternal, and that we live many different lifetimes. And she did, and I just heard, she just texted me that, this A-list actress and her production company are picking it up and they're hiring a screenwriter to make it into a movie.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So cases like that really solidified my trust. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so it still happens to this day that people, maybe not like a historical figure, but maybe, when you lead them through important days, they say, oh, I'm getting married. And then always have them describe the ceremony, because it might be different from what we know today. Mm-hmm. And plugging in those details into Google, you'll find wedding ceremonies from different cultures, from different times that people are talking about. And they might come out of their session going this is really weird. I made it up, right? Let's look at it. Let's Google it. And then they're mind blown because they find that this one woman had been talking to me about this traditional Hawaiian wedding ceremony. Oh, wow. And she wasn't from Hawaii, had no idea about it. So having those experiences over and over again, I really started trusting that people really are talking to me from lived experience, be it their own or imprinted.
So do you think you are one of the volunteers that Dolores, which one? First, second, or third?
Second.
Second?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. The second wave of volunteers, yes. You too?
I feel it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm from 1971.
I am 72.
72, yes.
Yes.
So I've come to know myself. Doing this work, it really changed my relationship to my identity. I know that I'm an eternal being just as everybody else is. And that I've had many different lifetimes in many different places, not just Earth. Mm-hmm. That I'm eternal, and so is everybody else.
And when we go to those past lives or to those experiences, what people can find? Can really people heal from illnesses? Or what do you think is really meant for, when you are called to do one of these sessions?
Oh, good question. Yeah. So anything, it's mind-blowing, what happens. I had this beautiful session just yesterday where when we came in with a long list of ailments, and I was like, okay, here we go, see what happens, because I never know. Because of course we want stuff to be healed on the spot, magical, healing happening. Sometimes the higher self will tell you well, they need to hang on to this because it's actually helping them to go into a different direction in life. But yesterday, everything was checked off and healed and cleared. Oh, so wow. It was really crazy. So it's physical ailments, mental, emotional stuff. Weird experiences that people have. It gives so much clarity. And the biggest benefit I see from it that almost everybody gets is that they get this experience of them as a eternal being or as a soul or the higher self, and they come out of it with this peace of mind or peace of being, having reconnected with the truth of who they are. That's really, and that I find such a beautiful, I almost see activism in this world that we live in, because it's just...
Wow, I love that, because that is true activism.
I think so, yes. Because instead of being...
Protesting.
I believe that when we're born on this planet, we know what we are as babies. You can see this in babies, that they have access to their higher self, to themselves. You can see this. And when you look into a baby's eyes, at least I can see their soul. And then this gets shut down pretty quickly because of, our parents having gone through the traumatizing ways of upbringing that we encounter on this planet, and then school and society. Like bit by bit, we're being made to believe that we are not worthy, that we're not good enough for who we are.
Yeah.
And we shut down. And so doing QHHT, and when we feel like we're unworthy, what we learn is that worth is like regained or experienced when we fit in, or when we have an achievement or accomplishment, or we present a certain way, or it's externally, when you say that, like externally motivated, like to get power or worth from the external circumstances.
Correct. And it's not real, right?
It's not real, but we live that life here.
We do.
And so QHHT kind of like hacks that and pivots that focus back from worth is out there to, oh, I am worthy, I am love, I am part of source. And that's the biggest motivator for me to keep doing this work, to see people kind of wake up to themselves as a divine being having a human experience.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. No, I feel that like when having the experience of the sessions is that these moments, sometimes we have problems, right? And they seem so big. Yeah. But when you go through a session, you realize that it's nothing, right? Because at the end of the end, it won't even matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is for me, it's like, wow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really empowering to see the perspective, or the soul's perspective, of why certain things are happening, because it releases like self-judgment about yourself. Like, have I done it wrong? Why do I cause this disease, or stuff like that? Like, there's always this very loving intelligence behind it that helps you to be in forgiveness towards yourself and to release these things. Really beautiful.
I noticed that difference when I did regression in 1996 and when I did it now, because there was like a method that the lady that I did it follow, and it was more about going back and finding these knots that you have like in your energy, right? And then you go there, you leave it, you see it, and then you forgive. I don't think when we do QHHT, we are looking so much for the forgiveness, but more for the release, right?
Yeah, it's combined. I feel like sometimes it does bring it up, like that forgiveness is needed. But I think it's sort of like a byproduct anyway, when people go into a different lifetime, and later on when we talk to the higher self and it's placed in perspective, people go like, I don't have to hold on to it. I can just release this self-judgment that I have. I think it sort of runs in the background a lot. But yeah, the thing is, what I really like about this method, QHHT, is that like the practitioner doesn't have to be a doctor or to know about some kind of ailment. Sometimes people email me and they go like, I'm dealing with this really weird like physical disease, and they try to explain it to me what it is. I'm like, I don't need to know it, because I'm going to talk to your higher self, and then it's going to tell me like what this is and what's needed. So that's really kind of miraculous.
I love it. So we would explain a little, because we are talking and we know what we're talking about, but I feel people don't know like how the process of a QHHT session is like. So when we are talking with the higher self, right? It's a process that you first like kind of go through this life, and then you're going to go past lives, and then we're going to call the higher self, right? Yes. Who is the higher self?
The higher self, to me, is the part of us that knows it is part of source. I mean, every part of us is, but we've just forgotten it. But it's sort of cutting through the self-judgments and making yourself small to the part that really, it's the part of source that we all are. To me, that's what it is.
There is different types of higher selves, or they are all nice when we are in...
Well, they do come with a personality sometimes, and it's really enjoyable. Sometimes they're really like stern and very sort of dry. Sometimes they have like potty mouths, which is, I enjoy those so much. Like sometimes they're called like the kind well, this bitch thinks that, blah, 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 like, and they have a certain personality, which is really like interesting. And there's different levels of it. So, sometimes you can like access really universal energy or knowledge. And at other times it seems to like be very close to the personal expression of a person. And it's like whatever is needed for them in that moment. Yeah. So there's different levels of it.
Why the higher self is not just my higher self, right? Are we connected when we go up?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
because I have that feeling that when you go up, it's not just, the ego part that is me, is us, right?
Yeah. As we bypass or transcend the perceived separation that we live in now. We tap
perceived separation. I like that.
Yeah, and we tap into sort of the building blocks or what everything is.
What is everything? Well, now, with all the experience that you have, how do you see it? How is everything really?
Well, I think there's just consciousness, and there's different levels of expression of it. And right now we're in this 3-dimensional expression where we have chosen to enter an expression of source that is very dense and very limited in order to learn or experience things that we cannot experience anywhere else. I believe that like life on Earth is a very coveted spot. Like there's souls in line to come here to have this particular.
Oh, can you believe that? And like, I know I was there like raising my hand and here I am, right?
Yeah, because we learn, because this is such a dense place that consciousness is split in like the duality that we encounter. So the learning that we do here through the contrasts of, the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the expansion and the contraction, the joy and the depression, it's just something that, especially on Earth, because it's a place of free will, and there's such a variety of experiences to be had here. I'm sorry, I'm like.
Why do we keep coming back?
Because we love it. I mean, it's not for everybody, but for a lot of people, like when they come out of their lives and they look back at it with sort of like nostalgia, or like, all those feelings and those experiences, I'm going to go back there. Not always. Sometimes people go like, I'm glad that I'm out of it. I'm not ready to go back just yet. I need some time to recuperate. But there's experiences to be had here that you can't have in other places. It's a coveted spot.
Other places. So we're not going there now. Dimensions, right? Are we talking about dimensions, or are we talking about planets when we talk about other places?
It could be both.
It can be both.
Yeah.
So how I am in a space in my evolution trying to understand more about the dimensions and how I am understanding at this point. Tell me, how do you see it? So they are happening at the same time, right? Different dimensions.
Yeah.
So can I really change another life? Like I have personally seen the experience of one of my lives being in a dungeon and ending a life there. It's very sad. But lately I have the feeling like, since I have seen it last time, very connected with that one. So can I change the way she ends that life based in what I am doing now, or no? What do you think?
That's a good question. I don't know that I've ever considered that. I remember being in a lifetime, exploring a lifetime with somebody and changing it during the regression, like they took a different route. But that's a good question. Yeah. I mean, it's not something that I've considered because, I've found out that our soul really opts into certain experiences that from our human perspective might think, oh, this is really bad. I need to like do something about it. But then you find out that the soul really wanted to have those experiences to have like a condensed way of fast track growing to be done. So I tend to stay out of thinking that I'm in control of what's good or bad, and I'm letting it run like the
way it is.
Yeah. But that's just, I don't really believe in like strict rules. Like I think every case is very different. This is what I've learned, that as human beings we want to quantify everything That's just how we go about things. But from the perspective of the other dimensions, there doesn't seem to be like hard set rules that has to be either this or that. There seem to be so many different options of experiencing life and having experiences. Yeah.
So how many dimensions do you believe they are?
I think there's like infinite. Yeah.
And our soul is like everywhere at the same time?
Well, yeah, because we are source.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think in our core, we are God or source or creator, whatever word you like to use for that. And then, you know, it chooses to take on like more or less varying degrees of separation or embodiment to have certain experiences instead of just being consciousness and just like, floating around. I don't know, you know.
But so talking about a little God, and because I have a lot of friends that I love, but they are more like religious, and I believe I can be spiritual without separating, both. Like, where do you think it meets together? Do you think religion is really separated from spirituality, or do you think?
Yeah, I think it is.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it.
I was raised a Catholic, you know.
Me too.
Yeah. And I mean, I have beef with religion, so I might not be the right person to ask.
No. We like be open, like, because we want to bring through like how we really.
So to me, religion is kind of primitive.
Primitive. Well,
Yeah.
I like that. What do you mean by primitive?
Like, I think it's helpful at a certain development for a soul. You know, it's like a structure to fit into, to have some kind of growth process. But like, to me, what religion does, organized religion, is it immediately tells a person that they're a piece of shit or a sinner or something, and that God is like somewhere up, and it's this like, of course, a white bearded guy. Oh my God, you know, and then you didn't have to do certain things to gain its favor or its love. I mean, it's so fucked up.
Conditional.
Yeah, it's conditional. It's fucked up. Like, it's never going to give you a sense of worthiness because you're always having to like strive to be better and better and better, and following external notions of what is appropriate, what is worthy, what is good. And so you never get to really connect to yourself. And that's, to me, very disempowering. So I think religion and the societal or cultural ideas that we live in that are derived from that, you know, it really like cuts people off at the source. When it tells them that you're not good enough, you're unworthy, you're not God. There is this being that seems to be like looking at planet Earth, and everybody's being born onto it, and it goes, well, good egg, bad egg, good egg, like hell and heaven. Like, what bullshit way of, like, what a useless way of spending time for this eternal being, if there was a God like that. So I think it's very disempowering. And I've had sessions with people where they will go back like to the medieval times, and they would see or tell me about how like the Vatican was like a hoax. Like, these people that had all the power in the world at the time were knowingly dispersing these lies about religion in order to control people and to gain wealth and to keep them small. So I have no good words about it.
No, I have a life as a, when you are born, in this text from the Catholic
In the what?
Church, when you are born as a witch.
As a witch, yes. Burned, yes. Yeah.
So I can relate.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had many of those sessions, especially of late. I really think that right now we're bringing back the witches, the female connection, the feminine, the divine feminine connection to the earth, to our nature. Many, many different lives where people go into lives like that, where they were wise women and helping to heal people and be empowered.
Yes, but like, I grew up, as you said, Catholic, and then I separated from church because I was always very spiritual and curious.
Yeah.
And I never got the feeling like that I could be bad, like I could be born bad, right? Like, that never made sense in my personal mind. But what was very cool, and there is where like everything starts getting interesting for me. Last year I had experience to do the bufo. I don't know if you have heard about that.
Yeah, of course.
So, and I was doing it with my sister-in-law, and I had like the first time I was with God, it was beautiful. The second time was a little hard. But the thing is that we are driving back home, and I asked my sister-in-law, like, how was your experience? And she said, oh, it was beautiful. I was with the Virgin Mary. And inside of me that I had a really hard experience, I was like, oh, sure, right?
Yeah.
Like judging. And then in my own mind, I was like, no, I am sure. Like she believes in that. So that's why she had that experience. Everybody sees what they believe. So that was number one. So that night I go home and I said to my husband, I don't want to watch anything that is hard today because I just did Bufo. So we put a documentary about psychedelics, and there is this lady with her whole experience with the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
Second, right? That Sunday, I take another friend to do the Bufo. She has experience with the Virgin. And I am like, I don't know, like, why? Because I don't believe in the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
So 4, 5, and 6 experiences until I said, okay, I got it, right? I have this friend that talks to me and says, what you are is not understanding that is the feminine energy of God, and like connecting, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And what is cool though is like 6 months pass and, I'm with my life, whatever. I sent a friend to do Bufo and she had a wonderful healing with that. And she comes back and she brings me a gift. And it's that paint from the Virgin Mary. Like
wow.
Like that.
Oh, wow.
And I never told her that story. So I'm a believer.
Yeah.
Right?
I've done sessions for 17 years now.
Yes.
So you'll encounter all of these like ascended masters in sessions, and that have nothing to do with religion. And I think, consciousness takes on this known figure to be a very specific sort of guide or helper in people's lives. But it's accessible to all of us. It's not just, growing up Catholic, it would be like, hearing about Lourdes and the people that sort of saw these apparitions and like Saint Bernadette and stuff, thinking that these are very special people, but it's just like, it's there for all of us.
It's available to all of us. That's so cool. I know. So, and you personally, do you have like experience that was like intense or for any reason you really remember or it changed something inside of you?
Yeah, I love those questions. There's been so many and so many now that it's kind of like my normal. But one that stands out that I was able to post on my YouTube channel as well, the client let me, is she went to a time in her current lifetime where she, as a kid, she walked out of the front door of her house going into a park, and there was a spaceship parked. And she just walked into the spaceship like it was like her everyday, like going to school. And in the spaceship was a being and explained that it was there to educate her. Like she would be kind of looked at a computer screen or a screen, and that this being was her mom from another dimension, from another place. Yeah. And
so we have moms in other.
Yeah. There's many different like overlapping experiences. She talks to me about how another part of her soul is like on this big like mothership to spaceship, and it goes around the universe. And my client, as this being, is in charge of distributing like the flora between different planets. Like they're the seeders of life on different planets, and her job, or what she was good at and what she loved to do, was to take plant species from one planet and modify them so they can be
growing other ones.
Yes.
Wow.
And so she was talking to me about like the way that she looked. She was having this like badge on her uniform. She described it looked like a triangle with a circle and something else. And she was describing how the universe, they had divided the universe in certain quadrants and different teams. And then she was going like, oh, and you're in a team as well, but you're in the team that's dealing with other things. Like she recognized me from something. And what else was coming up? It's so detailed, like I could ask her any question. And then this woman didn't know this in this lifetime, but part of her work here was to work with cannabis. And she was not a weed smoker at all.
Yeah.
But she was here to work with cannabis to develop certain strains of it, because cannabis is a great terraformer. It's that this plant, when they take it to other planets, it's really good at converting the earth and to make it like a good space for other plants to grow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's like a wonder plant or something. So that is one of the sessions I really remember
But how about you in a session?
Oh, my personal sessions?
Yes.
Oh, one I just had, so we were talking and you mentioned Pleiadians. I had a session done by a friend just about a month ago. And I found myself to be like a Pleiadian on a starship, kind of similar to the experience I just described. And my being was very experienced in working with emotional energies. Like I felt like I had this like big sort of heart space that was very, very fine-tuned. And I would go into different planets and work with the emotional energies and with the planetary grids. Wow. Like I would go into this one planet and I would take on a body that was fitting for the planet. And I would like walk around while like upgrading or encoding the grid lines of the planet.
Wow.
Yeah, and I found out that part of my beingness here is doing the same thing. Like
that's my question.
As a level, not a level 2, but a second wave volunteer. Yeah,
I know we are special. It's true. Do you believe that when we sleep, our souls keep working, like go out from our bodies to work?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I hear this so many times that we.
Is that the fourth dimension? You think?
I think it can be any dimension. I don't think it's like definitely the fourth, or it could be the fourth, but also other ones. Yeah, I've had so many different experiences with clients that they go all over the place. Yeah.
And I have my sister-in-law today, she was telling me that she was sleeping last night and she had this feeling like she really died and she was like very suffocated. Do you think was something that had to be with her soul somewhere that she was able to kind of come back and connect her? What would be your thoughts about that?
Like, I don't know, that could be a past life that she goes into. It could be like a process where maybe like a part of your ego death could be. I mean, I'm a really firm believer in that we live in a benevolent universe and that all experiences are there to help us grow. Yeah, even though, it looks kind of shitty on the planet right now. Yeah,